This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I pray that you will consider this your vitamin and supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom and pass it on to your friends? And if you could leave a rating and a brief written review, it would be very helpful. Today I want to talk about the resilient leader. The resilient leader. I have on my left forearm about a 5-inch scar that reminds me of an accident that I was involved with a year ago when I was out of the country on sabbatical, a mishap that I had. And when I look at the scar, and it's not overly sightly, and anytime I wear a short sleeve shirt, it's right there where not only I can see it, but anyone who has any power of observation can see it. And people will always ask the question about my scar. Wow, that doesn't look good. What happened there? And here's what I've seen my scar to epitomize or to represent. It represents that there was a point in my life when I was hurt and I was in pain and I needed some help. And every time I look at that scar, though it is somewhat unsightly, it reminds me that I made it through and that I've been healed. Now, the painful scars you may think are the scars that are on your body that everyone can see. But leader, some of your most painful scars are scars that we cannot readily see. They're on the inside. Some of them are on your heart. Some of them are on your self-image. Some of them you have had to really battle and overcome. Every person you meet today, every person you pass in the automobile, on the bus, in the car, every person has fought battles. Nearly every person is still fighting a battle. And scars are a sign that you've been healed. What does that have to do with the resilient leader? A resilient leader is that person, that woman or man, who has been at times brought low by the blows of life. And yet they're still in the arena, their shoulders back, their head held high, and they are still moving forward. My friend, we all face difficulties, challenges, and even setbacks. Resilience is that characteristic that determines if we will work through it, fight through it, grow, or will we just kind of give up, cave in, and let those challenges defeat us. Like you, I've had to go through many, many challenges in life, starting from childhood up to the very moments that I'm living right at the moment. There is no problem-free life. You, with God's help and the help of others, can push through it. And much of what happens in your life will be determined by how resilient of a person you become. So just as my outside scars, the scars on my body, remind me that I was involved in a past event, but now that I have now been healed from. But I do, like you, have internal scars that indeed also testify that I have made it and I have survived. Resilience is one of those things that we all know what it is. It's a little harder to come up with a precise dictionary definition that satisfies all of us. It really comes down to this, that no matter what happens to me, no matter how many things befall me, We're going to work our way through it. We're going to keep moving ahead. We're going to keep going forward. In my life, there have been some folks that I have relied on. I'm a Christian, so I've relied on my faith in God to bring me through. And in the darkest hours, He has sustained me. My family, my friends, and my faith, the three F's, faith, family, friends, have brought me through many, many of those difficulties. Now, let's transfer this to the area of a resilient leader. Here's where leaders get discouraged. They get discouraged when they're facing problems. Listen to me, my leadership friends. Because problems exist in this world, that's why we need you. We need you to be a woman and a man of courage, of conviction, who will stand in the midst of the arena regardless of the difficulties. You will help us to distinguish between a problem and a fact of life. You will help us to understand that problems can be worked through, dealt with, handled, and even some can be solved. You will help us to distinguish between problems that we can work on and seek to get help with. And then you will also help us to understand that also for every one of us there are facts of life. And many people today are discouraged by facts of life, things that you can't change, they are not going to change. Who your parents are is who your parents are. Where you were born and some other sorts of things that happen in our life, they are facts of life. There are only things that we can change that we need to worry about, only things that we can work on. Every leader has had to face a problem, a series of problems, or in their lifetime, multiple problems that when going through the problem, you thought, this is it. I'm not going to be able to make it through. 2019 has been a difficult time at Dr. Ron's household. We've had some physical, some family issues, some things that were work-related that made it a difficult year in many ways. Yet, now I'm through most of those things, and we look back, and our faith, our family, and our friends brought us through. I also know that I learned not only life lessons, spiritual lessons, I learned leadership lessons. Regardless of how painful situations are, most of them are not going to kill us. And they are an opportunity for us to grow, to expand, and even to change if we need to. So leader, problems are part of it. And some of them aren't just things we inherited. Sometimes we have been right in the middle of it and a poor decision or something unforeseen that we participated in, we help precipitate them. And so when there are those problems, we have to deal with them. Another thing that you're going to have to deal with, and why you'll need resilience, you are going to make a mistake. I know it's late in the year, and if you've gone this far without making a mistake, you're a fortunate person. I'm only kidding. We all make mistakes. The wisest person, the most informed person, the person who is doing their dead level best to be the best that they can be, you're still going to make mistakes. And you have to embrace them, and you have to learn from them. And we need a resilient leader. We need you to be a resilient leader who can push past mistakes, correct it, and move on. A resilient leader is one who has been able to move through and beyond the past. All of us have a past. There are things in our past that if we sat down and began to cry and began to complain, we could just have one enormous pity party. You're going to have to push past the past. The organizations that I work with are many times paralyzed by the past. They either are in this idea that the past was the good old days that will never be recaptured, or back then we had the right leader, the right people. Some of us are, because of those problems and mistakes I've mentioned earlier, we have just become victims of the past. If you're going to be a resilient leader, you're going to have to push through the problems, work for solutions, You're going to have to push through the mistakes. If you need to confess, if you need to say you're sorry, if you need to make corrections, all of those things are absolutely appropriate. And we're going to have to push through the past, our own past, the organization's past, our family's past. Let me give you just 4 things that I think will help any of us to be a more resilient leader. I've been talking for these last few moments about problems. If you're going to be a resilient leader, you're going to have to learn to embrace problems. You're going to have to just embrace them. I know that's counterintuitive. Most of us are repelled by problems. We want to run the other direction. Again, hear what I'm saying, leader, ma'am or sir. You are in the place of service you are in today because we need you to help us solve problems and to fix things. And leaders, that's one of their primary job responsibilities, is to help shepherd their family, themselves, their organization, their workplace, their church, their volunteer organization. You have to help us get through problems. And here's how a lot of families, a lot of folks, even a lot of workplaces deal with problems. They do their best to ignore them, sweep them under the carpet, act as if there is no problem, ignore it for so long until a problem just multiplies into a full-blown crisis. If you'll get involved in the problem earlier on and begin to solve it and work on it and put the people together to work on it, you're there. You're there because there are going to be problems, and we need you, leader, to help us get those problems solved. Resilient leaders don't run from problems. They embrace them, see them as an opportunity in disguise, and find a way to get themselves and their organization through it. So resilient leaders are able to embrace the problem, work through it, wrestle it to the ground, and solve it. The resilient leader is the one who is able, secondly, to build relationships. Remember, I said there are 3 F's that will get you through the problems of life: faith, family, and friends. Build the relationships with your family. Build the relationships with your friends. Those are the things that you're going to have to rely on. You need a team. You need people that will pray for you, believe in you, encourage you, someone to be a shoulder to cry on, someone to be a confidant where you can pour out your heart. Don't wait until you're in the midst of a problem or a crisis and at that moment begin to say, I really must build relationships. Start every day just making relational deposits into people's lives. Build and strengthen relationships. That is a sign of a resilient leader. The third thing is invest in development of yourself and others. If you're going to be a resilient leader, you have to continue to develop yourself. As I say often, I'm interested in what you've learned after you know it all. Are you continuing to learn? Some people, when they get through school, whatever level that is, it's almost as if they quit reading, they quit studying, they quit stretching. Invest in self-development. Get a coach. Go to seminars. Get some books, talk to friends, get in an accountability group, a mastermind group, something where you are continually developing yourself. You'll notice that a resilient leader is one who continually is working on self-development. And I would say under the area of development, it's not just enough for you to develop yourself. Begin to share that information with your team, with your family, with your friends, with your cohorts, and begin to try to help develop others. That's what a resilient leader does. A resilient leader says, let me tell you what I learned going through this situation. Here's the observations I have. And you're not only developing yourself, you're developing others. And the fourth and final thing that I want to say that is a quality of a resilient leader is resilient leaders embrace change. Most of us by nature are against change. We're not overly in favor of it. But all of life is change. Look in a mirror and look how much you've changed since you were born. Look at where you are in life, and you are where you are in life because you have gone through a lot of change. You can spend your energy resisting and fighting change, or you can embrace change. Another reason we need you, leader, we need you there because we need you to be a positive change agent. Doesn't mean everything needs to be changed, and it doesn't mean that everything needs to be changed at warp speed. But there are certain things, if we are going to improve and embrace the opportunities that are ours in the 21st century, there are things that are going to need to be changed. So remember, resilient leader, problems, mistake, the past, we all have them. We're either going to learn from them or we're going to let them defeat us. And I'd say, again, if you're going to be a resilient leader, make sure that you tackle problems, embrace them, work through them, build relationships with your family and friends, because it is faith, family, and friends that will bring us through the crises and problems of life. Really invest both money and time into self-development and the development of others, and embrace change. You've been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom. Words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust this has been like a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom and leave a rating and a brief written review. This is Dr. Ron saying, until next time, leader, you are doing a lot better than you think you are. And until next time, have a great and blessed day.